In this lesson, we'll take a look at what Azure Arc is, including the types of resources we can manage with it. And we'll also take a look at some of the management tools we can use to manage our network resources. The problem with all these services is that it becomes difficult to manage everything since most of them require different management systems. For example, if we're running our web servers through Amazon Web Services, we'll need to log into that system to monitor and manage that server. Azure Arc supports a variety of on-premises and cloud-based servers, Kubernetes clusters, and even databases. Azure Arc allows organizations to extend Azure's Resource Manager capabilities to all of these network resources. Before we can use Azure Arc, we must first register or onboard our servers with Azure. Supported servers include physical and virtual servers that are on-premises or hosted with another cloud provider that's running Windows or Linux. Once a server has been onboarded into Azure Arc, it'll be assigned a resource ID, so it can be managed as part of a resource group inside a subscription and use different Azure tools. When onboarding a server, the Azure Connected Machine agent has to be installed. This agent is what connects the machines to Azure Arc. One cool feature of the agent is that it sends a heartbeat message to the Azure Arc service every 5 minutes over port 443. If Azure Arc doesn't get a signal from the agent, the server will be considered offline and the network administrator will be alerted. We can also manage our Kubernetes clusters with Azure Arc. A Kubernetes cluster is a group of containerized applications. A container is like a virtual machine, but instead of having a full virtual operating system, it consists of a specific application along with the required dependencies, so it can be run on almost any machine. Kubernetes is the preferred and Microsoft-supported open-source platform for managing containers. By integrating Kubernetes clusters into Azure Arc, network administrators can control the cluster configuration and workloads using the management capabilities of Azure Arc, such as inventory, monitoring, policy compliance, security, user access, and more. Azure Arc even allows an organization to manage their databases by enrolling their SQL database instances using Azure Arc-enabled SQL Managed Instance. Enrolling SQL databases into Azure Arc provides flexible scaling options, allows the organization to take advantage of cloud billing models, and provides a platform as a service experience. Servers, Kubernetes clusters, and data services are just some of the main resources we can manage with Azure Arc. Once we've onboarded our resources, we can use many of the Azure management tools. Depending on the resource we've loaded into Azure Arc, we can use the different management tools available in Azure. For example, the Azure portal provides a GUI to manage the Azure subscription and resources. All the network resources we've onboarded will be shown here and can be easily accessed and managed. Azure Policy can be used with our servers and Kubernetes clusters. Azure Policy defines security conditions to ensure our network resources comply with security policies. When a policy is defined, it can be applied to specific resources or groups of tagged resources. The Azure Monitor tool can gather all sorts of data, monitor the health and performance of network resources, gather and analyze log files, and can be configured to alert the network administrator when a resource has any issues. These log files can be kept in Azure storage for long-term analysis or compliance reasons. For our on-premises servers and Azure virtual machines, the log analytics agent must be deployed. Azure Arc even allows us to integrate Microsoft's Sentinel with our servers and Kubernetes clusters. Sentinel is Microsoft's SIEM and SOAR solution. Once we've onboarded our network resources with the service, Sentinel can be used to collect data from all our network resources, detect and investigate threats using AI, and respond to incidents rapidly. We can also integrate Microsoft Defender for servers and Microsoft Defender for containers to provide additional security for our servers and Kubernetes clusters. Azure Automation can be used to run scripts and automate certain time-consuming management tasks on our network resources that have been onboarded with Azure Arc. These tasks can include running updates, scheduling tasks, responding to alerts, and more. These processes are all defined in runbooks that are authored using Graphical, PowerShell, or Python and can be run on various services, including Linux machines. The final management feature we'll discuss here is using Azure Arc to manage our virtual machine extensions. A VM extension is a small application developed by third-party publishers that provides post-deployment configurations, such as installing a specific program or service. To use VM extensions, the Azure Virtual Machine Agent is installed during the provisioning process automatically. Once the VM is set up in Azure, simply go to the VM extensions menu, find the extension you want, and install it using the provided script. We can even install a VM extension on a non-Azure machine. As long as the Azure VM agent is installed on the virtual machine, you can pass the script into the VM to download and install the VM extension. That'll wrap up our lesson on Azure ARC. In this lesson, we went over first what Azure ARC is and how integrating Azure ARC into our hybrid networks makes the management of our network resources much easier by extending Azure's resource manager capabilities to a variety of network resources.